And today we're going to talk about percent increase and decrease. So you say to me, what is this? What is percent increase or decrease? Well, percent increase or decrease is when we want to do a comparison from something that was an original amount to wherever we stand now. It's used quite a bit in financial situations and when you want to predict how a company is going to do. Stock market uses it a lot. If you ever watch how they did, a year ago to what they're doing now. What were your company's sales last December to company sales this December? You hear a lot about it at the holiday time when they're talking about, oh, sales were up. Well, that comp by this much percentage. This is where this comes from. You can also talk about it also like if you have a small house and you want to build on and create an addition. Well, the bank's going to want to know how much are you adding onto your house? What percentage are you adding onto your house? So that is what percent increase or decrease is. You look at the original amount of whatever you're talking about and you compare it to the current amount. And we just talked about how it's used. It's used in financial situations if you're going to increase the size of a house. If you're a product, if you're packaging a product and you want to increase the size of the box 2 ounces more so you can be competitive with another company, you want to know the percent increase when you go to your stockholders or your board of directors so that you can get that approved. So here's the actual definition, and if you need to stop the video and write this down after I explain it to you. It's the percent increase or percent decrease from one amount to another is the ratio of the change to the original amount. So it's a fraction. It's a ratio. So your formula is amount of change over original amount. Amount of change to original amount, if we want to say it properly, because it's a ratio. So what you do simply is you're going to subtract the two numbers. It doesn't matter which number comes first, you're going to just take the larger number and subtract the smaller number. As far as you don't have to worry about negative numbers. You don't ever want to get a negative number because that's what the percent increase will do for you. So here we go. Here's an example. We're talking about my caramel apple sales. The first trimester, my caramel apple sales, I netted $562. Let's just say sales. I didn't even net. This is my gross. Gross is the total amount I take in. Whenever you hear anybody talk about gross, it's the total amount that I took in from my sales. Doesn't count with anything, doesn't take into account what my costs were or anything like that. So you can understand when people talk about things, it's good to know those terms. So the first trimester, my gross, or how much I collected at the end of the trimester, was $562. The second trimester, I finished with $674. I'm making a projection here, right? Let's pretend like the second trimester is over. So how do we find out? This is obviously because the original amount is always the one that comes first. So this is obviously a larger number. So you can use your brain and understand that it is a percent increase. So now we just have to find what that percentage was. To do that, you take the original amount minus, let's step back. You just subtract the two amounts. It doesn't matter which one comes first. You want the larger number to come first so you don't have a negative number. So regardless, in the numerator, you just subtract the two amounts. So you have 674 minus 562 over, all of them have to be written in ratios. And this is how you show your work. So you have to do this. You have to subtract the two amounts and you have to show it in a fraction. Over the what? What goes in the denominator? What goes in it? That's right, $562. Why? Yeah, because it's the original amount, whichever one comes first. So 562. Now this part's pretty simple. You simplify by subtracting in the numerator, which is 674 minus, I'm just doing my math, you would use a calculator, equals 112 over 562. Well, at this point in time, you should be able to tell me how to change that to a percent. because we just did that. Yeah, you divide the numerator divided by the denominator, so we have 112 divided by 562, and we get, now the answer is going to be 0.019928882. So because it's 0.199, I'm going to change it into a percent by multiplying by 100. When I multiply by 100, because you have to change the decimal to a percent, I get 19.9. I'm going to round that, and remember, say about 20%. Now you can't stop there. No, you can't. You have to tell me, I know, but when you're writing a report, they don't necessarily see these numbers all over in the same place. So is this an increase or a decrease? Yeah, it's an increase. So you would write 20% increase. That's the math you have to show me what was the percent increase or decrease in my caramel apple sales from the first trimester to the second trimester. Good? Okay. Well now, how would we use this? We've got concession sales for October and December. Obviously, this is a what? Is it an increase or a decrease? A decrease. Why do you think it's a decrease? Now think, concession sales is the after-school snack that you buy. Why do you think that less money was taken in December than in October? Yeah, it's a shorter month. We have the winter holiday break, and we don't have as many snack days to sell. Why is that important? Why would that be important in planning or in a business? If you shut down for 2 weeks of the month, then you need to communicate that with the people who own your stock or invest in your company or your board of directors so that they understand what's happening, that you really aren't taking a loss. There's just no business because there's nobody there. So you kind of start to see how these amounts are used. However, I want you to stop the video and do this problem. I want you to find the percent decrease. Okay, welcome back. I'm going to do this one with you. Well, the first thing you're going to do is you're going to say 422 minus 221 over the original amount, which is 422. Now notice here, in this one, I subtracted 674 minus 562. The 674 came second, but that has nothing to do with when we find the numerator, the difference. Because this one, I took the second number that came, and in this one, you use the first number. It doesn't matter in the numerator. You just want to find the difference between the two. So you just subtract the two numbers like you normally would. Larger number minus smaller number. Well, when you get that, 422 minus 221, you get 201 over the original amount, which is 422. Now, I hope you divided 201 divided by 422. And and then you multiply that by 100. Now this one gives you 0.476. In this case, at 3, I would probably say it's about 47.6%. I wouldn't round that one up to 48. If you did, the only time I would round it is when it was like 0.9 or 0.8 or 0.1, 0.2. If it's in the middle, that's too far away from 48%. Why? Because if I say it's about 48%, that's almost a 0.5%. And I have to be careful with the people that I'm communicating at this with. I don't want to have any false pretenses and make them think projecting more than we really did or taking more of a loss than we really did. So that's why those decimal points are important. You got to be careful when you round when you're talking about money because people make big assumptions either way. So that is percent. Now you couldn't leave it like that. I forgot something. You have to write percent, 47.6% decrease. Very good. All right. So I want you to write down 2 things that you've learned and 1 question. We're going to be doing word problems on these. When you do a word problem, it'll be very similar to this, except it'll be written in a problem style, not just a statement. When you get that, all you have to do is to identify the original amount. The original amount, which one came first? Then what are they comparing it to now? There's always very clear what they're talking about. If I'm building an addition to my house and this is my square foot, and my new square footage is going to be this, obviously the original house would be on the bottom, the square footage, and then the new square footage would be on the top, or the difference between it. All right, I'll see you in class. Have a great evening. Bye-bye. I gotta find